Made any New Year's resolutions?
Non.
Well, mine is to learn some French. Can you help me?
Bien sûr.
How do you say this? Can I buy you?
Est-ce que je peux t'acheter
Macaroons from Nicolette's.
des macarons de Nicolette?
Now, say it all at once.
Est-ce que je peux t'acheter des macarons de Nicolette?
Oh, absolutely. I'll have a box of raspberry rose, blueberry cheesecake, and chocolate.
Mais c'est quoi ça?
Thank you, Francois. You can order them online at nicoletsmacaroons.com or visit their store in Plymouth. Merci.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, cloudy with a high of 12, then tonight, cloudy with a low of 1 above. Pick up your elegant box of French macarons from Nicolette's Macarons in Plymouth, conveniently located off Highway 169 and 36th Avenue. Check out the store in person or place your online order at nicoletsmacarons.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Good morning, and welcome to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and it's been another tough week, neighbors, but we're showing up and we're being there for each other. I do want to, at the top of the show here, do a shout out for those who may be wanting to go out and doing protests today. Please avoid the Cedar Riverside area. Leaders in the Cedar Riverside community have requested that people, particularly non-residents, stay out of the neighborhood today, Saturday, January 17th, to keep the streets empty and to avoid any clashes. We have word that we're going to have some guests to our city, supremacists, that will be planning a march in that area. Thank you all for joining the conversation today. We have Minnesotans, we've got folks from around the states. We even have some international listeners joining in today. And thank you for being part of the conversation. We're all still struggling with what happened with Renee Good. Why did she have to die? Was she simply at the wrong place at the wrong time with anger that got out of hand? And then the question becomes, could any one of us simply be at the wrong place at the wrong time when angry ICE agents are there? There is fear right now, and there's overwhelm, and as well as exhaustion and anxiety. For people outside of Minnesota, you may not grasp the severity of what's happening here. ICE is literally going door to door, assaulting bystanders and blatantly kidnapping U.S. citizens and people who are here legally. They are targeting childcare workers, manual workers, and other hardworking regular folks, regardless of their legal status. And it is violent, it is uncontrolled, and it's escalating. Some examples: there have been folks being rammed in their car, then being pulled out and holding down with a knee to your face and neck. I saw a video clip of a disabled individual on the way to a doctor's appointment, and she was also pulled out of the car. There's chemical weapons being used against observers and random bystanders in big intersections in small areas as well as big metro areas. Pepper spraying people directly in their face under no threat. They've kidnapped 2 U.S. citizens who are minors from their job at Target. They were dumped. One was dumped bleeding in a parking lot miles away. And we've got schools that have been closed because agents have stormed school grounds. We've got kids that are doing walkouts in response. Their guns drawn without judicial warrants. They're breaking down doors. They're taking people out of their homes. ICE agents crashed into a special education teacher's car, blaming her for them hitting her, and then arrested her and threw her in jail for 12 hours. The president of the Oglala Sioux tribe demands that ICE immediately release 3 tribal members who are being illegally held at an ICE facility in Minnesota. Somehow Native Americans are being considered illegal immigrants, and the Oglala Sioux tribe's memorandum makes it very clear that they are categorically outside immigration jurisdiction. They're reporting abandoned cars all over the place. There's at gas stations with the nozzle still attached on the sides of roads and parking lots. Doors are open, abandoned, and the driver taken. And there's been another shooting. A young woman protester lost an eye. But there is a glimmer of hope. The federal judge last night has prohibited federal immigration agents in Minnesota from arresting, detaining, retaliating against, or using force and chemical irritants against peaceful protesters and observers. The injunction limits the force federal law enforcement officers how much force they can use against demonstrators and observers, while a lawsuit filed by the ACLU of Minnesota on December 17th is still pending. The injunction specifically protects persons who are engaging in peaceful and unobstructive protest activity, including observing the activities of Operation Metro Surge, and that's the name given to the immigration enforcement operation that's going on here in Minnesota. In the January 16th decision, U.S. District Judge Catherine Menendez blocked federal agents from retaliating against those protesting or observing the activities of Operation Metro Surge, arresting or detaining people absent probable cause they committed a crime or were obstructing agents, using pepper spray and other ammunitions and crowd dispersal tools against peacefully protesting or observing, stopping or detaining drivers and passengers of vehicles where there is no reasonable and articulable suspicion that they are forcibly obstructing or interfering with federal agents. So the ordinary neighbors, the judge has ruled, will be protected by the law. I hope so. I hope the response teams and the watch networks and the observers, despite being decentralized effort by people with jobs, kids, and no official power, Minnesotans, we are showing up in the face of danger. And Minnesota, I'm so proud of being a Minnesotan, and I love my neighbors. We are being threatened by Trump to invoke an insurrection act, allowing him to deploy troops as protests against immigration enforcement operations persist in Minneapolis. So today I'm interested in what is the law? How are our neighbors helping neighbors? How are we handling the overwhelm? And what can we keep doing? Today with me is Rick Bernardo, my co-host. And how are you doing?
For the past week and a half, I'm a white guy, so better than probably many. And that's not saying a lot. Nauseous, waves of rage, conversations with people that are not in the room, like your internal dialogue that you don't know what to do with. I've got a background in ethics. I've got a long history of thinking about right and wrong. So I'm chewing that over. How do we be clear about that? And what do we do?
And one of the things you've done is you've invited some great guests today.
I did. Yeah, wonderful people. There's a lot of inspiration going on in the sense that everybody I know is A, terrified, B, in action doing something to make a good difference.
And we have in our first segment, Alex Trevino. He is a Twin Cities attorney and a community advocate. Alex, we're so glad you're here today.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Alex.
A little bit about myself. I was born in Mexico, moved to Minnesota when I was about 9-10 years old. You don't hear an accent because I moved into an English-speaking home. I became an attorney, and I represent mostly injured workers, mostly immigrants. It's a group of people that needed more help in that area.
You have shared with me about there's information out there, there's misinformation out there, there's doctored videos. How are you working with all of that?
I have no idea. We're all on social media. We're all having conversations and discourse. And I think the most important thing is to make sure we know what our source is. Where did we get our information? Well, I got it on Facebook. Okay, but Facebook is a platform, right? And then we have to identify, is this a valid set of facts or not? If I walked into court and argued based on these videos and memes that people are using, I would get sanctioned.
One of the things that I appreciate about you is that you're really reaching out to everyone to support to support neighbors helping neighbors. And you've had neighbors that weren't necessarily liberals that are working with you today. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's been a really hard journey for me, because I've got family that I've unfortunately pushed out of my life. Would I do it again? I don't know. However, right now we are in my eyes, we're in a war, and this war is about humanity. And I have needed people to forgive me throughout my life. I have needed to change my position on things throughout my life, and I'm doing the best I can to give people that same grace if they're willing to pull themselves out of whatever echo chamber they may or may not be in and come see for yourself. Let's talk about facts. And that has actually been working really well.
And tell me how you've done that with a friend. Share with me how you've gotten to the point where you're working shoulder to shoulder.
An example is to sit down over a meal, allow them to ask questions, and then invite them to see for themselves. I have had situations where I invited them, hey, why don't you come join me? Let me drive you to a couple places. Let's have you witness a few things safely.
Mhm.
And that's the reality. Those are your eyes. That's why right now, for neighbors, for all of us, our biggest weapon in this war, one of our two biggest weapons in this war, is our cameras and our video cameras, because we're documenting real life. We're not doctoring anything.
I love the idea that you shared just before our show about you actually are looking forward to a time when you can get back to debating policy, but we're beyond a policy issue right now.
Yeah, this is not policy. This is humanity. This is survival. And what I've said I think what you're referring to is I said to a couple of my friends that I look forward to the day that we sit down again and get into a heated argument about the economy or about what the speed limit should be, whatever. But not now. This is not the time to do that anymore. It's the time to act.
In acting, what are some of the things that you're doing out there?
I'm helping a neighborhood with organizing, with protecting those that are at risk. I am having these types of discussions. I'm asking other groups of people, how can I help? I've been able to host a roundtable with a bunch of attorneys from a firm and have a conversation. There are so many ways to do this. And then, of course, I'm out there protesting. I'm out there protecting. I'm blowing my whistle. And I've been able to do it all peacefully.
If you had the chance to be sharing with people that aren't from Minnesota, that are seeing things on TV and hearing various interpretations, what would you most want them to know about what's happening here?
We are under siege. I mean, what got me so involved in this was about a year ago, and I started recognizing that our rule of law, our Constitution, our democracy are under attack. And I reminded myself that I took an oath when I became a lawyer to protect the rule of law and the Constitution. And as this has been growing, snowballing, I 100% know that all that is under attack. So it is my duty to do something about it.
What do you think about the judge's ruling? Will it make a difference?
Yes, but I don't think it'll make a difference the way people hope. I don't think it's going to stop these thugs, these agents from violating people's constitutional rights. I don't think it's going to keep them from obeying that. However, where it really is going to have teeth is it's going to provide clarity and guidance in the lawsuits, in bringing these claims. And it's going to be much harder for the Department of Justice to say, oh, this is not, this is legal work or legal things that they did.
One of the news agencies asked the question, the headline was, why is the federal administration antagonizing Minnesota? And I thought, beating people and disappearing people is way beyond antagonizing. And that's what I hear from everybody we're dealing with is brutality.
Well, and they want us to respond in kind, because if we respond in
yeah.
kind, then that opens the door for them to try to, bring up the Insurrection Act.
Got it.
What could happen if that is invoked? What would that look like?
I've never even thought about that because I never thought it'd be possible.
Yeah.
Will Governor Walz have to call up the National Guard to defend us? Will the military itself obey that command? Will they obey illegal orders? We don't know. This is why we need to band together right now. And we are showing the world that we're not going to stand up to this. And we're doing it in the Minnesota way. And if that means freezing the streets, okay. I don't mean that necessarily, but my passion got a hold of me there. Sorry.
The streets are freezing anyway,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Right,
so
correct.
we're all together with the weather here.
Correct.
I read one post from a friend of mine that talked about us not just being Midwesterners, we're Northerners. We're the people of the North Star state. And that gives us a different kind of commitment to each other, a different kind of neighbor, helping neighbor, and making sure that we're all going to be okay. And I'm hoping that through conversations like this, that folks will feel inspired to have their own conversations to how to be there for each other. If you're giving advice to like a neighborhood group that's out there doing what they need to do to help support neighbors, what are some things that you'd like them to know about that they should keep in mind?
Follow the law, even if the law itself isn't following it. If you are wanting to witness and observe ICE activity, don't break laws, don't run red lights. If you are standing there filming and they say back up, take your video. I'm assuming you're videoing. You're going to want to take your video, point it at your feet, walk backwards, and then narrate, I am walking back. That way you have clear documentation that you're obeying order, even if it's an unlawful order in that situation, okay? And everybody has the right to stay silent. ICE doesn't have jurisdiction over U.S. citizens. And don't be afraid to call 911 if you feel that you're being, that you're in danger.
Good lessons.
And what we have is our whistles, our voice, and cameras.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I've since purchased a camera that I can wear on my chest because I don't want to have to fumble with my phone to document.
Do you have anything else that you'd like to share before we close out this segment? I so appreciate your legal background, the devotion that you have to immigrants, and the work that you're doing and the work that you're supporting. Just wanted to give you a chance if there's anything else that you'd like to share with the audience. And we've got folks, as I said earlier, that are here from Minnesota and greater Minnesota, in the metro area and the greater Minnesota. We've got folks listening from around the country, and we've got international audience today. What do you most want them to know? And how would you like to close out this segment?
Boy, you should have asked me that before we went on air.
Oh, sorry.
I have learned that there are many people who want to help and either don't know how or are afraid. And that's all very real and valid. There's a reason that the military has people that work in, soldiers that work in logistics and soldiers that work in the kitchen. And it takes everybody to be able to accomplish this. So if somebody's afraid to be out on the streets, that's okay, but you can find other ways to help. The biggest need that we're seeing right now and the biggest void, at least that I'm seeing, is rental assistance. When people are having to shelter in place, they can get food delivered. There's wonderful organizations doing that work, but rent. And I beg the state to right now enact a moratorium on evictions. We need that to happen. But lastly, take care of yourselves. I have to take breaks. Otherwise, I'm not going to be the best advocate and the best helper in this. So it is okay to feel. I cry every day, and that's actually helpful.
Alex, thank you for joining us today and sharing not only some good to-do lists, but sharing from your heart. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all that you're doing.
Thanks for doing these shows. it's going to help. You guys are all a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be taking a break. We'll be back after a few great commercials that support the work that we do here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And in our next segment, we're going to be talking about how to deal with that overwhelm. And we've got Dr. Trish Vani and Reverend Doug Paget to share about some things to think about. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Pretty much everybody I talk to is ready to leave 2025 behind. So what better way to do that than quite literally have Zero Res come over and clean that 2025 dirt out of the house. Pretty much any surface in your home can be Zero Resified, from carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, hardwood, and so much more. Zero Res can take care of it all, so it's time to call the cleaning pros. Start your freshest year yet in 2026 with Zero Res's biggest sale ever in celebration of the new year, and wash 2025 right out of your home with this deal. This month, you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and a free hallway, plus 15% off regularly priced services like air ducts, upholstery, area rugs, tile, hardwood, and more. Call 952-ZERO-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
I am the amazing Cassandra, a mechanical fortune teller who can predict the exact date and time of your passing. But 5 teenagers have died, and I alone have the power to save them if they can pass my test of song. Their musical trials begin January 16th at Lyric Arts Theater in Anoka. Ride the cyclone along with them at lyricarts.org.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
There really is no place like home. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Home Health. When you're faced with an illness or an injury, being able to stay at home and receive care is important. Our home health offers a wide range of services, including skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapies, aides, homemakers, in-home respite care, and 24/7 live-in care. We'll work closely with your primary care provider to come up with an individualized plan for you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and the rates. To avoid gimmicks, call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and we are continuing our conversation about what's happening here in Minnesota. We are faced with a lot of challenges right now, and what is amazing but not surprising is that Minnesotans are coming together, and they are helping each other. We are neighbor helping neighbor. But we are going through a period of overwhelm with all that's going on. And I appreciate you being here and joining the conversation today. It's not easy. It's not easy to talk about. And sometimes we can feel so isolated. And what we need to do as much as we can is stay connected, but also take care of ourselves, because this is an overwhelming time. I had a sort of amazing call the other day from my brother, and he was upset and nervous And I was like, well, what's happening? And my brother JD, he was like, well, you didn't call me back. And I was scared. I realized how friends and family throughout the world are worried about us. And when I didn't call back, it's like, are you okay? I'm okay. But we're all trying to figure out what okay means right now. And how do we keep navigating, and how do we navigate together? Rick Bernardo is my co-host today, and he has invited some wonderful people to help talk about this with us.
Thank you, Lori. And two people I've known for a number of years. One is the Reverend Dr. Trish Ivani, and Trish is a ecumenical Catholic priest in Eden Prairie. She's also a professor at theology at St. Catherine's University. And the other person who is joining us with Trish is Doug Paget. He's also a pastor, long ago founded Solomon's Porch in Minneapolis. He's most known now for the past, I don't know how many years, 4 or 5 years at least, maybe longer than that, as the founder of Vote Common Good, which is really committed to engaging ministries and faith communities all around the country and transforming that language back, actually. He's got a new book called Outdoing Jesus. But both Doug Paget and Trish Ivani are experts in my lifelong passion, which is what is ministry? What is it? And for me, it's sacred service. It's making a difference. And it could be everybody is in some kind of ministry. So welcome both of you, Trish and Doug.
Thanks, Rick.
Hey, Rick, good to be with you. Trish, good to see you again. Trish and I were on another call. And I'll tell you, I used to have a radio show there on AM 950, so I know that studio well. And,
you probably recognize where we are.
It's fun to see it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of AM 950, so
it's fun.
Thank you for having your voice out in these difficult times.
Trish, tell us about how you're looking at where we are right now, and what can you give us in terms of guidance on how to navigate right now?
Thanks, Lori. Well, I'm in a suburb of Minneapolis. We're not getting the level of coverage that Minneapolis itself is getting. However, we have daily incidents in the Southwest Metro of people being grabbed and dragged and brutalized, of observers being targeted. Just the other day, citizens driving through town were being stopped and they were being asked for their ID, which is absolutely illegal. So we're in an extra legal moment in this country. That's one of the things that's going on. And of course, it's very much what you described. It's an enormous stress in the background for everyone. It's an epic level of stress for my Somali and Latino neighbors here in town. We have one of the largest Somali communities in the country here in my city. So what do? Well, you figure out what's the piece of this action that's yours to do. So Doug and I come from the Christian tradition. So listeners, one of the things that we believe is that we're a body, and that gifts are given to the body, and they're all very different. Some of us are going to need to show up. I reconnected with Doug in the wake of watching him put out these amazing videos from sites that he was at, documenting what was going on to his national following. He's a person who can take his camera and go down in the thick of something. My sister's disabled, but she can call her building manager and say, how are you protecting the building? And what are you doing with the timing of that garage door, which is way too long? Went into her building because the garage was up for too long. We all have our small piece to do. So the question is, what's my piece? And then the other question is, how do I sustain myself for the long game? This is not going to resolve in a week. It's not going to resolve in a month. This is going to take time, not only to resolve the extra, the illegality and the horror that's going on, but also to recover from the trauma that's going on.
And your role in the ministry in supporting these times. Tell me how the ministry is showing up. You mentioned part of the body, but there's some very specific things that the ministry is doing in this time and in throughout not only our metro area but in the rural as well.
Well, I think one of the things that's incumbent on people like me, and I know Doug lives this as well, is to really help people distinguish the difference between Christianity and Christian nationalism. Because there's a lot of disinformation and a lot of lack of information that's flying under the banner of Christianity. So undoing that, preaching well, teaching well, loving people, creating safe spaces for them to come and fill their well. Like, I'm a big fill your well person, right? And it doesn't even, it doesn't happen just in mosques and synagogues and churches. It happens when we, put on our snowshoes and tromp through the park. And it happens when we sit in silence with our eyes closed. And it happens when we dance to great music, that we figure out how we're going to sustain ourselves. So I think part of my job locally is to keep, I loved how Alex talked about he's accountable to the Constitution. Well, when I was ordained, because I'm Catholic, they held the book of the Gospels over my head. And they said, are you willing to preach the gospel? And so to preach the gospel with integrity is the thing that I am profoundly accountable to. So all of that, but also to participate where I can in helping break the disinformation bubble. Because right now, I'm pretty convinced that the only way that really accurate information is getting out is through citizen journalists on social media. That the mainstream media is captive to a lot of forces and they're not going to give tons of time. But we have this sort of granular, I saw that, or my friend was out at the bus stop in Minnetonka and saw the two kids get grabbed before they could get on the bus, which happened yesterday. So
not far from where I live as well.
Yeah. So to use our networks and to get involved with organizations, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's so much out here in Minnesota that's being of service in every imaginable area. Here's a light of in my life, and I would name it as grace as a Christian. I, in a million years, would never have dreamed in my affluent suburb where there's so much inertia that literally hundreds of people would be mobilized. Hundreds. So find those organizations that are doing that, connect in, and figure out what is my piece. And that's something, that I hope your pastoral people can help you figure out if you're not quite sure what that is.
And Doug, I heard Trish mention that you've been out there doing a lot of videotaping. Tell me about how you're being a citizen journalist.
Yeah, our primary work is we work around the country on helping faith voters to disconnect from a Republican voting identity and vote for Democrats. So we do that work all over the country, but I live here. And so I recognize very deeply that Minnesota is under this pressure right now. But look, this Trump administration is targeting all Americans. They're here now, but they were in Portland before, and they were in Charlotte. They were in Los Angeles. They're in Chicago.
Going to Maine next. Yeah.
They're going to keep going.
Yep.
So there is a solidarity being built, and our work is to try to find that solidarity. And you know what I find when people are really healthy out doing this work, and I've seen lots of people do it in very healthy ways, it seems to me that they know themselves, right? They're figuring out at a time of deep pain and crisis, you really get to know yourself. And some of us, we respond very easily to the pain that people are feeling. But some of us, we respond with a solution in mind. And some of us, we see the glaring hypocrisy, So know yourself and don't compare yourself to others. Figure out how you approach this world. Like, I wake up pretty much every day thinking, how did the conservative don't tread on me crowd become the obey or die crowd? Yeah. Right? It drives me out of my mind. How did those who say law and order is so important and yet they're fully confident voting for a 34-time convicted felon? Like, these are things that, my pastoral heart just says, like, could you find some consistency in your life? But that's not everybody's thing. And sometimes people get excited about something that somebody else doesn't get excited about. But for many of us, this is personal. My own son, adult son, came over to pick up his passport and birth certificate that he keeps in a little safe at our house because he's of Mexican heritage. He drives for Amazon. And he said, I have to have my papers. A Minnesota-born kid has to pick up his papers.
It's got
That is utterly, utterly heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think Trish said it so well. There's many opportunities. You can find those opportunities. You can engage in them. And I'd also encourage one last thing, and that is check the amount of time that you're spending on issues on videos and news reels and news feeds that are causing you stress and pain. All of us can only take so much. And unfortunately, the amount of stress and anxiety and pain and sadness that we're under, it doesn't necessarily heal the world because we're suffering more. Enough empathy, enough care is crucial that we feel this pain and we're not hardened to it. But also, check the amount of time that you're on your phone. Maybe going to bed moments after watching the horrors of ICE agents is not the best way for you to sleep well at night or to wake up in the morning. So we really do have to figure out how we're going to manage this over the next 3 years, because we are still 3 years and a week away from the end of this administration. And we have to figure out how to engage in ways that are life-giving and are caring with our eyes wide open and recognizing the true realities. But what we need is to be fully alive, all of us. And if you find other friends that need a little encouragement, sometimes the encouragement is, hey, look at this. And frankly, sometimes the encouragement is, maybe you've looked at enough for now. So I would encourage all of us to really care for one another in the Christian tradition that Trish and I come from. Loving one another is the ultimate call, right? There is no greater commandment than to love one another. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of ways we can find to love one another.
I think there are times when we give to others and it's easy to give to others because we feel called upon to, like, there's a need, I need to be there. But taking care of ourselves is going to help us be there for others for a longer period of time. Mm-hmm. And since we are looking at the long haul, how can we commit to ourselves, to our community, to our neighbors, to the world around us that allows us to stay connected, but stay connected in a healthy way? And it's hard.
Yeah. And to remind each other, look, you're doing enough, no matter how much it is. Whether you're out there every day with a whistle in your hand, or you're helping kids get into school safely, or you're helping the manager at the apartment complex figure out how to run the garage. Whatever you're doing, it is already enough. You could do more, and that would be enough. Or you could do a little less, and that would be enough. A lot of us Minnesotans have, we're gonna fight ICE with Minnesota Nice, but also there's this tendency to feel like maybe we should do a little more, and that word "should" lands really heavy. Mm-hmm. Replace it with "could." You could do more, but maybe not today. Mm-hmm. Maybe another day. Because we have to stay a healthy people, because a beleaguered, angry group. In fact, Trish, maybe you could share that last bit you shared on the podcast with me the other day, which came out of the recovery work, which I thought was so brilliant. I've been repeating it to people all week.
Yeah, so thanks, Doug. I've been part of the 12-step movement for 43 years, which has been probably the bedrock of my spirituality and an enormous blessing to me. And we have a little saying that we say to folks who are new, who are struggling and fearful and shaky. We say, don't get too hungry, don't get too angry, don't get too lonely, and don't get too tired. That those are the slipping points for possibly ending up in a relapse. I want to say that to build on and you know what? Here's the deal. Here's the reason, particularly people with my complexion, which if you're not watching but just listening, I am of 100% Irish heritage, including a grandfather who ran off and joined the partisans. But that people with my complexion have the luxury of quitting. Right? People with my complexion have privilege that allows them to say, I'm really done. I can't do this anymore. We're the people who have to last. We're the people who have to stay in the game for the whole distance. So if you are not taking care of yourself, if you're not eating right, you're not exercising, you're letting yourself get rageful. There's a difference between like holy anger and full-blown rage, right? If you get too tired, I love what you said, Doug, about the doom scrolling. I mean, doom scrolling is just a life sucker, And if you're doing that right before bedtime, you are going to end up not sleeping well. So taking care of ourselves is part of dismantling our privilege in a way. It's saying, no, I'm going to live my life and be part of this in a way that I last. And about what the work is, I was on the phone with a very.
I would love to have you share more. I'm already 5 minutes over, so if you can do a real quick sharing.
We know your pain.
Yeah, we have one more segment that we're going to be doing, and I have another guest coming in. But if you want to do just real quick, that would be great, Trish.
Yeah, so I was on the phone with one of my young adults yesterday, and they were really struggling because they wanted to go down to an event in Minneapolis today. And you mentioned, Lori, the request that we don't go down, and to really shift that. What is the work? The work is not just showing up for a protest. The work is looking in on a neighbor. The work is bringing a casserole. The work is standing at this bus stop wearing a yellow ribbon. The work is showing up at the school board. All of this is the work. It's not just the stuff that's most vivid on social media. So give yourself permission to ask, what is my piece of the work, no matter, as Doug said, no matter how small.
Thank you so much to both of you. You've provided us with, wonderful ideas to think about and to be encouraged by. And it's a long haul, and there'll be more conversations that we have and will continue to have to help us stay connected here on Connections Radio Show. On AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Theater in the Round Players is kicking off the year with a beautiful new production of How to Catch Creation. It's a soulful drama centered on the powerful legacy.
Same here, Doug. Take care.
Writer from the 1960s.
Her
story reaches across time, weaving together the lives of 4 artists searching for art, family, and a place to belong. You'll be captivated by this profound exploration of identity. Experience How to Catch Creation at Theater in the Round now through February 8th. Tickets at theaterintheround.org.
Hey, Chanhassen and Eden Prairie. It's Alex with Buzzcut Mowing. Winter's on its way. Why spend your morning shoveling snow when I can take care of it for you? I provide fast, thorough, and reliable snow removal. Your driveway and sidewalk stay clear.
Hey, Tony, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. And thank you for joining us today.
Sure.
We're going to be on the air pretty soon, so we just got a moment to check with you is all. And I just wanted to say hi. And just to be sure, is it Signorelli? Do we do the SIG or not?
I usually do Signorelli.
Signorelli. Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. This is Patrick, the producer. Just one comment. You are still live online, so don't say anything you don't want anyone to hear.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Patrick.
And in this last segment, love to have you share whatever you think is most important that you want to be able to let the audience know. I am looking at this as, encouraging people to take action and continuing that theme. But feel free to take this time to share about what you think is important, especially with your current book, Martial Law is Coming to Minnesota and Beyond. If there's some things that you think you'd like to share from your book and promote your book, we're happy to do that. Oh, article. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Okay, I think that's good. Patrick, thank you.
For over 48 years, our slogan has been, out of the ordinary products and services. Our mission is to get you a fireplace that works in your life.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP. And mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, cloudy with a high of 12, then tonight, cloudy with a low of 1 above. Pick up your elegant box of French macarons from Nicolette's Macarons in Plymouth, conveniently located off Highway 169 and 36th Avenue. Check out the store in person or place your online order at NicolettesMacarons.com.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and I'm joined with my co-host, Rick Bernardo, who has invited some wonderful guests today. We've had a chance to talk about what is legal, what are the legal ramifications, how does the judge ruling in terms of protecting bystanders, how is that going to be playing out? How do we keep ourselves healthy? How do we keep ourselves geared to the future and supporting what's right in our community? And Rick, you have another guest that you're bringing in today.
Another guest is Anthony Tony Signorelli, whom I know for years now. He's been showing up in print with books about how democracy works, how we can have conversations. He's a poet sailor. He's very engaged in the process of how we have a community in the United States and anywhere. And he's also, really probes into all kinds of issues, psychological, philosophical, and practical. And so, Tony, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm okay.
Well,
and
I'm great,
nauseous,
but I'm great, but I'm stressed.
yeah,
like
gotcha.
all of us, right?
Yeah. Well, thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
Just for the last portion of our broadcast.
Tony, you've written recently an article, an essay on martial law is coming to Minnesota and beyond. Tell
Right.
me about that.
So, I wrote this piece. It basically comes out of work that I actually did about 20 years ago when I published a book called Call to Liberty. And in that book, I was looking at what was going on in the Bush-Cheney time and how they were setting the stage for potential of what we're seeing today. It goes all the way back to then. It started with the unitary executive idea that Cheney was pushing and the laws that they were passing and in the wake of 9/11 and so on. And you could see this all coming. And so, and what I wrote at that time was that these laws, these principles that they're putting into place in the hands of a less benevolent people than Bush and Cheney are going to be a disaster. And so here we are. And so what I thought was important for me it was to write something about how we can see what it is that's going on. And this particular piece that you're referencing just has to do with with kind of the logic behind what we are seeing today. The reality is that when these people come to this protest from out of town, who are the Proud Boys and the other groups that are associated with that for their anti-Muslim or whatever the heck it is that they're doing, their purpose, you can see it, you can just read it. Their purpose is to provoke violence, because when they get an image of violence, it justifies the Insurrection Act, to not just to Trump, but to the people he would have to have go along with him on it. And so it's a matter of helping us to see what it is that's going on. That may happen immediately. It may take another week. It may take more images, but the path is that because this is always the fascist playbook, right? That's just how it works.
I do have a question for you, Tony, in terms of, I asked this earlier with our other guests. If the Insurrection Act is invoked, do you have advice for us of what to think about and how to deal with that?
Well, that's a really good question. And it's one I'm thinking about that I don't have great answers for. And the reason is because we haven't seen this before. We have had traumas. We've had 9/11, for example, but 9/11 was an event that ended. We are going into a period now that is protracted, as your previous guest said, Trish said, and it's going to go on, and most likely. And we we really don't know what it is we need to do about that now. And especially, I don't know, and I wouldn't really want to hazard much of a guess yet, at least, about what folks in the Twin Cities should be doing. I'm not in the Twin Cities anymore. I lived there. I grew up there. I know a lot of people there. I've been around a long time. I've been on AM 950 20 years ago for quite a bit of time. And I understand, it from there, but I'm not there. I'm in northern Wisconsin. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about is what can people from outside do? How can we participate? The guys like Doug, was it your previous guest, who are out there doing the videotapes, for us, that's invaluable because it helps us see and know more of what's going on. But then how do we respond to that? And one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is that, we have all these discussions going on about Jonathan Ross and Renee Good, or there was this violation or that violation or all that stuff. At the end of the day, one message in my mind needs to come through again and again and again and again. And that's that this world, the one we're in, is the world created by Donald Trump. He could make a decision to end this today, and he doesn't. In fact, he adds to it. He's making it worse. And so the more we talk about all these other details, which are important, I'm not saying that they're unimportant, but when we're from outside and we're not in those details, we don't really know them, analyze the video and all that stuff. But we have to keep coming back to conveying the notion that this is Trump's world. He wants this. He's creating it. And then really when we're engaging with people who are supporters, it's like, well, do you really want us all to be hating each other? Do you really want this violence in the streets all the time? Do you want your people to be scared just like everybody else is? Do you want to have to carry a gun so that you feel safe? Is that the world you really want? So from outside, it's these questions, I believe, that is one piece of what we can contribute. Beyond that, I'll be honest, I'm almost a little bit as stuck as anybody. Like, how are we going to handle this? What is that going to look like? History has options. The French resistance, the Italian resistance, things like that. But is that really where we're going? Is that really where we're going to end up? God, I hope not.
Seems to me that like we're in some sort of occupation. It's just about how bad can it get? That's the landscape we're in.
I had a friend send me
right.
a meme that she never really expected that Minnesota would be the place that a revolution could start. It certainly wasn't on my bingo card as to what I could envision Minnesotans.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, Minnesotans are locking arms with each other and going, don't do this to our people. These are our neighbors. We care.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed along those lines too, that has been just starting to happen. I think that for me, at least from outside, when Renee Good was killed, the shock was pretty overwhelming. And I think, and my sense was that a lot of people felt that in the Twin Cities and outside and around the country. But one of the things that I'm also finding is that, and I'd be curious if you guys who are in the cities are feeling this, people seem to be connecting.
Oh yeah.
And so it's almost like
powerful connection.
It's almost
right?
like what we do in Minnesota when we have a major snowstorm.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We connect to each other. We help each other out. We go over and do the other's driveways and this and that and everything. And it's like we are doing that now. It seems like to me, and connecting with each other. Yeah.
That was Tony Signorelli.
And we're having to wrap it up, but a perfect note to wrap it on. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Minnesotans, we're there for each other, and we're going to pull you out of a snowbank, but we're also going to be there if you're in danger. And we care. And thank you for caring and being with us today.
You're welcome.
There
Thank you.
really is no place like home. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T.